This podcast is powered by the pros at Paschal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPaschal.com.
One of the things, Tyler, we were talking about on Sunday is when Arkansas will travel for basketball and baseball. Of course, it's going to be fun in 3 or 4 years whenever they make the trip to Norman, assuming that happens. But basketball, baseball, it's going to be pretty timely, and there's going to be a lot of Arkansas fans that make that trek.
Hang on, we got to put a quarter in your microphone.
There we go.
Yeah. I don't doubt it because, Ty, you and I were both at the OU Arkansas basketball games in Tulsa, which is kind of the middle ground for both schools. And what would you say, that Arkansas kind of routinely had 80-20, the crowd split that's there? Arkansas just –
we seem to have one less about every time, though. Something happened to our coach at the end of the
2 out of 3 times he's gotten thrown out. 2 out of the past 3 times he's got thrown out there. Now
That's
you threw him out to the
for
West Coast.
Yeah.
So both of our programs hate someone that's currently at USC. So that's fantastic. No, but the baseball support is getting better. The basketball support is only there if they're really good and exciting to watch. So, yeah, football, they support it like crazy. Softball, they support it better than anyone in the country. But basketball, baseball's got a way to go for sure.
Well, listen, I don't want to be ugly, but let's just get this out of the way. Lloyd Nobles it's not up to SEC standards. That's as nice as I can be. What are they going to do about that?
That's way too. You're being way too nice.
I know. I don't know
it's
you that well.
It's a bomb shelter. Is all it is. I mean, that's what it is.
It's a dump.
It's
going to be easily the worst basketball facility in the SEC, and it won't be close.
You know what? Normally, if you talk about someone's stadium or an arena to an opposing fan base, they get mad, right?
Yeah, I didn't want you to come across the table.
OU fans will like you. Even I mean, Tommy, I don't know how they feel about you right now or how you feel about them.
I don't.
But OU fans will be like, I like this Tommy Kraft guy. He's talking bad about the LNC. Yeah, they're trying to get a new arena. They're trying to with an entire entertainment district around it. That's currently the goal. I don't know if that'll happen in Norman. Maybe it could happen outside of Norman potentially, but they're trying to remedy that.
They'll spend the money on urinals at the football stadium and get rid of the troughs. They're not going to spend it on basketball over there.
Now, you referenced softball. I think that maybe the most underrated part of Oklahoma joining, I say underrated, they won 4 straight, but like when they come to Bogle Park for the first time, that game's going to be nuts.
It's their best program, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Without question.
I mean, and OU's been a good athletic program since 2000, but it was brought up to me recently. What is the entire OU athletic program, if not for college softball recently? Now, they've won men's and women's gymnastics championships, but, guys, people are starved for a football title. It's the longest drought currently in between national championships that Oklahoma has experienced before. So they're starved for it, and softball is really they've won a ton of titles since 2000. You mentioned the 4 straight there, so – yeah, you'll see OU go on the road to Iowa State. You'll see OU go on the road to, like, Louisiana Lafayette and places to where normally they just want softball fans to show up. You know, they don't pay any admission. Just show up to the game.
Yeah.
When Oklahoma comes to town, they actually charge admission, and they're still standing room only in a crazy crowds.
We're talking with, again, Tyler McComas, who, by the way, Tommy, also hosts a program called The Rush, so we're kind of in kin this morning. Tyler, we were talking about records before the show, and he knows this. I'm very high on Texas, low on Oklahoma. I think they're probably in that 7-5 range. I don't see them being able to navigate the SEC as quick as some. Give me a rebuttal of sorts that why Oklahoma will be better than I perceive them to be in 2024.
Because, and I know this is going to sound crazy, I think they have a chance to be a top 3 defense in the SEC. And that's no disrespect to the new conference. It's not the new guy walking in saying, this is Oklahoma. They're immediately. They've built this defense. And also, guys, that should be the case. Why did you hire Brent Venables if you didn't think by year 3 you were going to be really good on defense? And that's where they're at. And I don't think that the defense is going to be really good this year, Ty, because I like the starting 11. The starting 11 that they're going to throw out there in game 1, it's really about the depth and the 2 deep that they have. They're really good at linebacker, led by Danny Stutzman, who's got a chance to be an all-SEC player. He was an All-American. Perkins never heard of him, but no. The secondary's good. The defensive line, They're better than they've been in a while. They got Dominic Williams, the big transfer portal ad. They got their first 5-star interior defensive lineman in a long time. They've got another one, his IMG teammate, Jaden Jackson, who's a 4-star that was awesome in the spring. So they still
What about
got
that Wallard kid from Miami?
Caden Woolard. Yeah.
Woolard.
I mean, a defensive end. But there's competition to see if he's going to start. The pass rush has got to be a little bit more consistent. Not that it was bad last year. But my rebuttal, Ty, would be that this is going to be the best defense that OU's had in over a decade. And I know the bar for that hasn't been extremely high recently. But if people expect Oklahoma just to be a program that is a high-flying offense, scoring 40 points a game, but they're giving 40 points up as easily, that's not the case with Oklahoma anymore. Not that they're not capable on offense, they are, but this is a program that is defensively led. And again, that's why you hired Brent Venables. Mm-hmm. He's one of the most accomplished defensive coordinators in all of college football that we've seen. This is why you hired him, and this is what this team looks like. It was led by its defense last year, and I think absolutely it will be led by its defense this year.
All right, so quarterback's Jackson Arnold, sophomore kid. Tell us about him, and is he ready to fit? Because to me, where I think Ty may be on the right side is OU hadn't faced the defensive lines that they're going to see week in, week out. They might get 1 or 2 a year in the Big 12. Now it's every week. Can Jackson Arnold handle what's coming across the board? Maybe not from Arkansas when they eventually play, but when you start playing the Georgias and the Alabamas of this league, the LSUs, they got some grown men up there.
I don't question just the overall ceiling and the overall talent level of Jackson Arnold. For what you need him to be this year, to be a 9-10 win team, I think he's that type of talent. The arm strength that he has, I mean, the dude really throws the deep ball well, and I think that you're going to see that this year with this OU offense. I think his ability to be mobile and run around a bit and make plays, he's not a run-first type of guy, but he's really athletic. And some of the throws that he made in the Alamo Bowl, and I know they had 3 interceptions in the Alamo Bowl. It was his first start, and I think 2 of those picks were on the first 3-4 drives of the game. It happens, so I know that you can't take that away from the game, but if you take away the first 4 drives of his first start ever, it's pretty good after that. And you saw him make some high-level throws. But the question to me, Tommy, is can the offensive line protect him? Because when people talk about question marks in the SEC, for all teams, it feels like OU's offensive line, I hear more about that than most other weaknesses in the conference.
And you got a left tackle out of Florida, the Tarquin kid, or is that how you say
Michael
it?
Tarquin, yeah.
He's got some SEC experience. He's going to be one of 3 new offensive linemen that are projected to start for OU.
You're going to be new basically all across the board. Fabechi Wiwu is from North Texas. You got Branson Hickman from SMU.
That's a big get.
I think, that was a big get because they had an injury at center in the spring. I think their starting 5 on the offensive line can be good, can be solid. I don't know how much depth they have there, guys. So all of that to say, it goes back to Jackson Arnold. I think the talent level of Jackson Arnold's there. He was a 5-star for a reason, and the natural ability, like he's got a chance to be a really good player. But how good of a player is he going to be if they can't protect him this year, and they don't have a consistent run game?
So what about the wide receivers?
Excellent. That's the strength of their offense. Deion Burks, the transfer from Purdue, I'm sure you guys know about him.
Oh, yeah.
He's a star. Nick Anderson, who caught the game-winning touchdown pass against Texas last year, he's going into his 3rd year. Really good player. Brennan Thompson, whose transfer from Texas a couple of years ago, is going to be probably the fastest guy they have on the team, and all you really want is him to run straight about 9 or 10 times a game so you can throw it to him deep. It's the strength of the offense, and I think OU's wide receiver core could be one of the best in the SEC. So that'll help out a young quarterback for sure. And, man, they got a lot of speed and athleticism there.
Yeah. It's been, I don't know, what year was that, 2002? Alabama came to Norman. I was at that game. I mean, as big-time an atmosphere as you're going to get, particularly close to 25 years ago. So this won't be the first time that, OU and Norman has hosted major college football events and teams of this caliber. They've done it frequently. They always have a great non-conference opponent seemingly on the schedule. So I think the fans are going to, as far as what the show that will be put on Saturdays, I don't think OU's going to have any problem there.
So put yourself in the shoes of just a normal college football fan here. And season tickets aren't cheap anywhere, and they're certainly not cheap at Oklahoma. So you tell me which 2-year stretch of home conference games you'd rather have. Here's what OU's had the last 2 years. Kansas State, Kansas, Baylor, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, UCF, West Virginia, TCU. Those are their home conference games the last 2 years.
Okay.
And by the way, a lot of those games are at 11 a.m. Your next 2 years, Tennessee, Alabama, South Carolina, LSU, Auburn, Ole Miss,
Who's who?
Missouri. What would you rather pay for? So I think at times
pay more for.
I think at times the fan base has been critical of itself, that maybe the home atmospheres haven't been what it needs to be. Well, you've been playing a bunch of crap opponents at terrible kickoff times.
Yeah.
So I truly believe whatever the best version of a home game at Oklahoma is going to be, you're about to see it, because the games are about to be a lot better. You're about to have better kickoff times, and everyone understands the importance of what home field advantage really means in the SEC and how important it is.
I think one of the really cool things that has come out of this expansion in Texas and OU is this announcement of game times well in advance of the season, at least by day part. You know, you're going to be in a flex game, afternoon game, evening game. Hey, you're at 11 a.m. I think that's great for the fans, and if Texas and OU is part of the reason, then more. You know, thank you for being a part of that.
Nobody was happier than OU, because 11 a.m. games, it's just such a sore subject for the fan base. OU played 12 regular season games last year.
But that's the prime time in the old league.
11 a.m. games, guys. 7 out of your 12 games. And yeah, sure, Fox will tell you, well, hey, we put it there for a reason. Like, this is, you get a lot of ratings here. Oklahoma's not a small-time football program. You feel like a small-time football program when over half of your games are at 11 a.m.
Yeah, that would be frustrating to me as well. Again, we're talking with Tyler McComas. He's the host of The Ref across Norman and Tulsa with us this morning. Tyler, we've talked college football for about 15 minutes with you. I do want to ask you about Oklahoma City and Jalen Williams and Isaiah Joe, two guys that are Arkansas fellas, and Isaiah just signed that 4-year, $48 million contract in the offseason. I've heard Tommy about this, and I agree. I didn't think the NBA would work in Oklahoma. Sure enough, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, that little stint. Now they got some young guys now. What have you thought about those two Arkansas players that have been a huge part of this team in the young building process?
So they're a part of this nucleus, but it's pretty cool to see because OKC was bad for a few years.
Yeah,
and
terrible.
Interest really dropped. You know, I'm sure you guys hear about Loud City. It's one of the toughest playoff environments in all in the NBA. And OKC, when they're really good especially, has always had this more of a college feel to it versus NBA. You'd like to get that college feel to Lloyd Noble Center and Gallagher-Iba Arena and across the state of Oklahoma. But they are a part of a nucleus, Ty, that is beloved to kind of how that Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden era was in OKC when OKC first really got good and they got it going. Like, that was kind of a core group that everyone around the city really rallied around, and those guys are a part of that. Like, this is a team that, will they win an NBA championship? I don't know. I mean, we'll see. They were 1 seed last year. They'll have a good chance to be that again. But, man, you talk about two beloved players in a group that everyone just loves, ready to support for the coming years. It's pretty awesome.
You mentioned Gallagher-Iba. Right next to Gallagher-Iba's Boone Pickens Stadium. I mean, they're literally deadlocked next to each other. Arkansas's got its second game of the season against Mike Gundy, who made some interesting comments last week at Big 12 Media Days. What can you tell our audience about what Oklahoma State brings into that the second game of the season for the Hawks?
Well, you guys know about Ollie Gordon. I don't really have to tell you much there.
Heard he's going to play.
He's going to play all right. So run game will be solid for Oklahoma State. Alan Bowman, who I think he's probably 38 years old now, going to be their starting quarterback. They've got good receiver play. Rashad Owens is a nice player, and Oklahoma State's had good receiver play for a while. So that's what to expect from Oklahoma State. They're going to run the rock. They're going to try to get it in favorable passing situations and throw the ball downfield. And they got a couple of nice defenders this year as well. Nick Martin, one of those guys. I don't think that this is going to be some banner Oklahoma State defense. Yep. But that's a big game for Oklahoma State. That feels like that's a really big game for Arkansas earlier in the year. I don't know if you guys look at that as one of the more important games on the schedule for Arkansas, just kind of where it's at on the schedule.
I do.
But will Oklahoma State be better than a year ago? I think they could be slightly better than a year ago. Their odds, like they don't have the best odds to win the Big 12. You're going to see that with Utah. You're going to see that with Kansas State. And then you're talking about kind of Oklahoma State after the fact on that. But Oklahoma State will be they'll be a solid football team.
I think it's a huge game for Sam Pittman. He's already had a couple of high-level in-state recruits commit elsewhere, including Oklahoma.
Yeah, too.
And if it goes sour early in the year, the 25 and 26 classes are a little more loaded. So I think it's a big game for Sam Pittman to gain some momentum, particularly from a recruiting standpoint.
Yeah, Omarion Robinson and Marcus Wimberly, I'm sure that hasn't sat well with Hog fans.
It's not been good for Sam at all.
But those two players are, excellent. Omarion Robinson is a fringe top 100 player. I think Marcus Wimberly is severely underrated.
Yeah. So win there and don't want to get greedy and say and a win at Auburn and being 4-0 would go a long ways, but it obviously would go a long ways. But you got to win in my mind, you got to win one of those two games. And you can't look like crap in both. And that's Oklahoma State and Auburn, and you better win the other two non-conference games that are around those as well.
I hope Arkansas has a good year. The one game on Arkansas' schedule that I care about, and I don't know if I'll be doing the hog call during it or anything, but just go ahead and go beat Texas again.
Yeah.
Just no big deal.
We all agree on that.
Just go beat Texas again. And you know what I love is that this is only day 2, but I feel like I've already heard a lot here at SEC Media Day, and whether it's Auburn media or Tennessee media, everyone's got the same of, God, Texas is really arrogant. God, Texas. Hey, I've known this for all 34 years of my life. I could have told you this a long time ago, but people in the conference are finally figuring out, God, this is kind of an arrogant group, huh?
Okay, so I think they're the most hated fan base, hated university in all of college athletics. And here's why I think that. We're not wild about Alabama, but we respect them. We kind of get along. LSU, we can find some common ground somewhere. Auburn. There's a lot of teams, but I don't know any fan base anywhere that likes Texas, that can find common ground with Texas on anything. I think they're the most hated college brand across the board because I don't know anybody that's not a Texas fan that, I'm okay with Texas. Don't know one.
I've said this before, but when they were handing out rivals, when we first started to play the sport, OU got the best draw for a rival. Because like you said, easily hateable, easily triggered as well. Who else has an issue with their hand sign like the University of Texas does?
Worse than the middle finger.
And, for what they're built up to be as a football program, it's not really reality. Yeah. They had some great runs in the late 60s, early 70s, which Arkansas was a part of a lot of those big games, of course, but just not a whole lot of substance to the extreme hype that happens every single year. So Oklahoma got a good draw there. Just easily hateable team, easy to make fun of.
Couldn't think of a better way to end our conversation. Again, Tyler McComas does a radio across Norman and Tulsa for the refs, host of The Rush, kind of like our show. Tyler, we appreciate you jumping on with us, man, and I'm curious to see what Brent Venables says later on today.
He took a shot last year at Dion and Mario Cristobal at Big 12 Media Day, so
I don't know if he'll do that this year. We'll see.
All right, Tyler, thank you.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.